HIJK LMNOP WX Y and Z. Do you know your ABC of how to tell a story? Tell me more, tell me now. If you don't know, then let me tell you how. Hi, this is Rituparna and you're watching my weekly video blog of ABC of Storytelling, where every week I share a tip, trick, technique or a little secret from my story bag. This week we are on the letter M and we have two M's for you. One is meaning and the second is memory. Let's begin with the first one. The idea of telling a story is deeply connected, or rather it goes almost parallelly or is synonymous with the idea of communicating a moral or a value or a message, communicating a message to your audience. That's something that almost a lot of people expect us to do when we are telling stories, or rather that's one of the first hurdles that we face as trainers or as storytellers. When we walk into a school, they tell us that they use a lot of storytelling for moral education. We at Your Story Bag look at storytelling a little differently. I think we pick up the moral or the message, we tear it to pieces, we throw it out, and we say no, a story is not about the moral, story is not about the message. In fact, when you're telling a story, look at deriving meaning out of it. How is it different from moral and message? Let me just quickly explain it to you. When you're telling a story and you end with a moral, you are clearly stating that which your audience has to know after a story. When you are focusing on the meaning of a story, you are trying to communicate something that is not very explicitly expressed in a story. Therefore, an audience, what a member of an audience derives, the meaning that a member, that listener derives from a particular story could be very different from the other. And therefore, when you are telling a story, you are trying to bring those different meanings out, to bring those different points of view out. And though always remember that every audience, every listener has a response to a story, and that is their individual meaning, the meaning that they have chosen to take back from. It's like watching a film. When you go and watch a film, you may like one particular character, somebody else may like the story, somebody may like the song, somebody may like let's say the foreign locations that the film has been shot in, somebody may like the editing. So everyone has a different meaning or takes back something different from the film. So it's similarly it's for stories. Any story that you listen to, every audience derives a different meaning out of it. That is the beauty of storytelling, in fact, and that is what one should be focusing on. The second M that we have for you is memory. Because it is very closely related to the idea of remembering a story. I say do not memorize, use your memory when you are telling a story. For example, let me just show this to you, that this is the story of Malala. This is the book that I based my story on, and like you can see, it's very closely annotated. There are page marks. It's a huge book, and I had to tell the story in about 40 minutes. Reading the whole book, I picked up different points. It's based, again, it's a non-fiction book, it's an autobiography, so making it into a tellable story for children was a huge challenge for me. So I decided to rewrite the whole story like a story with a clear beginning, middle and end. And then the challenge came about how should I remember the story. It's of course sequence of events. There are anecdotes, there are dialogues, there are moments, there's action, there's drama. How do I remember the sequence? After having written the story in about 28 or 30 pages, I again rewrote it like little chits. So these are my cue cards which I chose to revise, because I know that every scene has these points which I need to remember. So this is something which helps me jog my memory, because it's visual, and also because it is more handy for me. I cannot be reading 30 pages every single time I'm trying to go through the story, or I'm rehearsing the story while I'm driving or something, or before a performance. But that's where I completely rely on my memory and not really memorize. So these are like my farras, which I don't really memorize. But I sort of refer to them when I have to quickly brush up the story or rehearse the story before a performance. So rely on your memory and never memorize, because when you memorize something, you tend to become a little artificial, or you tend to really focus a lot on what you've learnt up. Rather, it's like writing an exam. So don't memorize. rely on your memory. Do use different tricks to remember a story. Remember in F for forget, I said I had given some tips, so maybe it's a good idea to go back to that video and recall it. So I hope you enjoyed these tips for this week, and you will come back next week for N. And until next time, do write to us, keep writing and telling us whether you're enjoying them or not, whether you're trying these tricks, whether they're working for you, and what else do you want. Remember, at Your Story Bank, we are very, very happy to help aspiring storytellers, parents and educators to better their skills, to polish their skills. So if you have a query regarding storytelling, if you have a doubt, please write to us. Our email address is contact@yourstorybank.com, and we are on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on YouTube, and on Twitter. So please reach out to us and talk to us. Share your stories, we love them. So until next time, happy storytelling.